Hi, fifth graders. Today we're going to do the second part of nonfiction text features. You need to have this page out and have your name up in the corner somewhere. And we will start with a PowerPoint and you will be filling in the blanks. Now I'm going to be going between two screens since I'm doing this on a computer and I'm actually showing you the screen. So here we have the second part. If you remember, the first part was all about whole pages in a book, like the title page. That's a whole entire page. The glossary, the index, the table of contents. Those were the things that we looked at the first time. Now we're going to look at bits and pieces that are in the text, or as she has right here, within the text. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing is a heading. A heading indicates that a new broad section is being introduced. Broad means wide. So something that we're going to talk about, like if I said, let's talk about snow, that's a very broad heading. If I said, let's talk about cars, that's a very broad heading because it could mean so many different things. If I said, I want you to write a story about worms, I mean, that you could have a 633 page report about worms. So that's the broad heading. It tells the reader what the section is going to be about. So if you look at our example over here, all about frogs. So our broad heading is all about frogs. Now, what is the heading of the section shown on this page? Well, it's right up here, all about frogs. Then we have these little words down below, and that's what we're going to look into next. But know that the heading is going to be a very broad subject. Okay, the next ones are called subheadings. A subheading indicates that a new specific section is going to be introduced, and the subheading is just one section that addresses the topic of the heading. So again, this big part up here is our heading. It's all about frogs, and then we have two small ones, adaptability and response to environment. Now these both have to do with frogs, but they're broken into almost like what we would call little paragraphs. So now that we have seen that, let's go one more. It says how many subheadings are shown on this page. Well, obviously there are two. So let's pull up our worksheet and see what we need to do. A heading indicates that a blank section is being introduced. So if I go back to my PowerPoint and go back to where we saw heading, says a heading indicates that a new broad section is being introduced. So the word right here is new, and the word right here is broad. Section is being introduced. What does it tell the reader? Well, let's go back and look. It tells the reader what the section is going to be about. So let's fill that in. It tells the reader what the section is going to be about. Oops, and see how mine's going into the next one? That's okay. What is the heading on this page? Let's go back and look at it so we know it exactly. All about frogs. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write that right in here. All about frogs. And I want you to notice that I capitalized every word, because if I go back here and I look, every word was capitalized, and that's because it's a title. So make sure that you're following the good grammar rules. Okay, then we talked about a subheading. A subheading indicates that a blank section is being introduced. Gosh, that sounds a lot like what we had up here at heading. A new broad section is a heading. So let's see if we can remember what a subheading brings. A subheading indicates that a new specific section is being introduced. So back down here. So it's going to be a new, and what kind of new? A specific section is being introduced. A subheading is just blank section that addresses the topic introduced in the heading. A subheading is just blank section. I'm going to have to go back and look at my PowerPoint. A subheading is just one section. So we could have about eating. We could have about how they hop. We could have about how they lay eggs. We could have a section about tadpoles, but each section can only have one part about the frog. So we want to go back to our worksheet and we want to write 1 or type the number 1. Okay, it says how many subheadings are shown on that page, and we already looked at that. There were 2. There was the adaptability and the response to the environment. Okay, let's go on to another page. It says headings and subheadings. How can you tell the difference? Now I want you to go back over here and I want you to see what is it that we're going to look for in this next few slides. Headings and subheadings, how can you tell the difference? There are going to be 3 ways that you can tell the difference. So let's go to our PowerPoint. It says the first, okay, how can you tell the difference? Number 1, the first one. The heading is written larger, the subheading is written smaller. So I'm going to go over, I'm going to say, the heading will be written larger than the subheading. Okay, remember, you can pause this video at any time to be able to get your writing done. Okay, so now we're going to go look for the second section. Number 2, the heading appears first and the subheading follows. Okay, the heading appears first and the subheading appears next. And now I'm ready for number 3. And so I go to the next one. It says the heading introduces a general topic. So if you remember, we said it's all about frogs, and the subheading introduces specific. So I'm going to go back to number 3, and I'm going to write the heading talks about general topics, and the subheadings talk about specific topics. Okay, so we've got the top half done. Let me move this on up a little bit. So as you can see, we've got a few more categories to look at. We've got bold words, words in italics, bullet points, hyperlinks, and text box. Those are all going to be pretty quick. I want to read what this is going to be so I can look for those words when I'm talking in my PowerPoint. Bold words, and we know what a bold word is. These indicate blank words. They are blank than the surrounding words. They are often vocabulary words found in blank. Lots of blanks. Okay, let's go into the next one. It says, can you help me out? I'm writing a research paper. Which of the following would be the best heading? Well, because I'm not doing this in PowerPoint presentation, it's already circled for you. But American landmarks means lots of different American landmarks. Remember, a heading is going to be very broad. Like I said, if we wanted to talk about cars, that's very broad because you don't know if I'm going to talk about fast cars or slow cars or big cars or little cars. So my heading would be cars. My subheading would be the small cars that run on electricity or big cars that gobble gas. So this one, American landmarks, there are hundreds of American landmarks for us to look at. So that's a broad topic. Now the individual smaller ones are Mount Rushmore, which is where the president's heads are. Old Faithful Geyser, that's in Yellowstone where the water comes spurting out of the ground, and the Grand Canyon, which is awesome to go see. Okay, I understand now that the American landmarks is the general topic, so it must be the heading. And then the other 3 phrases are specific examples of American landmarks. Therefore, the other 3 phrases would be subheadings to use in my paper. So if I was writing an information paper today, the very top part would say American landmarks. That would be my heading. And then underneath there, I would talk about these areas. Okay, now we're looking for bold words, which is what we already looked at on our worksheet. Bold words indicate important words. They are darker than the surrounding words in the text. I remember reading that. These indicate important words, and they are darker than the surrounding words. They are often the vocabulary words found in, let's go back and look. They are often found in the glossary. So when we go to the back of the book, we can often find these words. So let's go ahead and fill that in too. Glossary. Okay, all right, let's go to our next one. We're going to look at words in italics. That's when they lean over. Looks like the wind has blown and kind of got them. Okay, words in italic indicate important information. Again, that's how the reader gets the writer gets our attention. These words are slanted, whereas the rest of the words are straight up and down. And the author wants the reader to remember this important information. Okay, these indicate important, what did I say those were? Important information. Let's go back and type in information. Information. These words are slanted. Ooh, I'm not very good on there. There we go. Slanted. The author wants the reader to remember this information. Okay, next we're to bullet points. Let's look at those. Bullet points indicate a list of words or phrases or sentences that are related to the topic, the heading. So if we were going to talk about different kinds of amphibian types, you could do a bullet point, just like they have here, another bullet point, another bullet point, another bullet point, and another bullet point. Dots are often used to introduce new items to a list. So let's go back here. These indicate a list of words, phrases, or sentences that are added to the overall topic. Something are often used to introduce, dots. They call them dots. Dots are often used in books. Then we have hyperlink. We don't see as many, there we go. We're up, there. Sometimes the dots are in the form of other things is what they're wanting you to do. You can have them in a check mark. You could have them in a box where you can check it off. You can have little arrows. You can have the little bullet points. Sometimes you can do little emojis. It's kind of up to you. But it says check marks, boxes, arrows, or other small figures may be used in place of the dots. Okay, now we're going to get to the hyperlink. A hyperlink. This website is an excellent source of kid-friendly information on frogs. So when it's underlined and it's in this blue, it usually means it's going to open up another page on your computer. It's called a hyperlink. It's going to link it over to another page so that you can find the information that you want. We use hyperlinks in Canvas. You click on the blue underlined part and it takes you to a video or it takes you to a worksheet. So we use hyperlinks. A hyperlink is a digital link that takes you to another location. So let's go to our worksheet. This is a digital link that takes you to another location, such as a website. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to put website. Okay, and the last one that we have to look at is a text box. Let's get down here. Right, here we go, text box. A text box is a box with an additional information written in sentence forms. A lot of our guided reading books have text box. Over on the side, they give you additional information. So a text box contains information that is interesting, but you do not have to read it to make sense of the actual story. But text box are full of information, and I think every one of us should be reading them all the time. So a text box is a box with additional information. Let's go back here. This is a text box with additional information written in sentence form. A text box includes information that is important, but not essential. Essential means that you have to have it. So if I go back to this, I do not have to know what's in this text box in order to understand this frog article. but it certainly gives me lots of information. Hey, thanks for following along. Thanks for filling in your worksheet. And that's the end of our text features for today.